Welcome back to Snippet Coder, and today we are going to learn about API development using Node.js. So first of all, we will understand what is API. So API means Application Programming Interface, which is a software intermediary that allows two applications to talk to each other. APIs are very common things nowadays. They are used literally everywhere on the website. APIs serve as the connection between the database, which store all the data, and the front end with which the user interact to get access to the data. So now, what is REST? REST, which stand for Representational State Transfer, is an architectural style for providing standard between the computer system on the web, making it easier for system to communicate with each other. REST APIs are mostly used JSON as the preferred choice for transferring data, as they are easy to understand and is readable. So this is the diagram of REST API. So here client is doing the get or post or put or delete request that will go via API in the form of HTTP request, and server will return us that HTTP response via API and return to the client as a JSON or XML or as a HTML. So we have multiple REST operations. So first one is a get. Get means to read the data. The function of this operation is to retrieve the data from the database and present it to the user. Then we have the post. Post, as the name suggests, is used to post, add new data to the database. It's allow user to add new data to the database. Then we have put, means to update the data already present in the database. Then we have the delete. It is used to delete any existing data from the database. So here the diagram, like here the client. So client is calling here get request, and take an example, we are returning as a job post here, and the job post is as an example here. And then we have the post request, and that will add the new data of that job post to the API. Then we have the put request that will update the job post. Then we have the delete here, and delete will be used to delete the job post. So now come the main topic, that is what is Node.js. So Node.js is an open source and cross-platform JavaScript runtime to run JavaScript outside the web browser. Node.js is used to build scalable web window console application and web APIs and hybrid application. It is built on a Chrome V8 engine. JavaScript was meant for web browser only, but using Node.js we can use a JavaScript outside the web browser to build scalable application. So now let's move to the code part to understand how that Node.js is work, and we will create a sample of the API to understand how we can create the API development using the Node.js. So first of all, we have to download few applications. So first one is a Node.js. We have to go to the nodejs.org, and from there we have to download the application. This one we have to download, recommended for most user 14.18.0.LTS. After download we have to install the application, as I have already installed in my system, so I'm not going to install it again. So second application we have to install is the MongoDB, and that we have to install for that community server, and for that we have to go to the mongodb.com/try/download/community, and from there we have to go to the MongoDB community server, and here the version already selected as a current version 5.0.3. Then we have the platform here. If we are using the window, we have to select a window. If we are using a Mac OS, we have to select a Mac OS, and then we have to click the download, and then accordingly we have to install the application. So I have already installed the application, so I am not going to install again in the system. So now we have to go to our Visual Studio Code to create our first application of Node.js. So now we are in our Visual Studio Code, and from here we will open the terminal. So we have created one folder where we are going to create our API and all, and the name of the folder is Node.js-class1, and there we have to put one command here, npm init. So what it will do, it will initialize the Node.js project in that folder. So it will ask for the package name. So we are already using that Node.js-class1. Then it is asking for the version. The version will be same. Then it is asking for the description. We can put any description here, like Snippet coder Node.js class1. Then we have that entry point, and the entry point will by default will be index.js, and we will click here enter. Then we have the test command. So nothing is required here. We will click here enter. Then also we can put the git repository link if there will be any. Then we have the keywords, author. Then we have the license here. Then it is asking us, is this okay? Then we have to press here yes. So that project has been created here. So now you can see here in the left hand side we are having that package.json. So now we have to install the Express, and the Express will be used for our server and all. all, and we have to put the command here npm install express save. So this will download and save the express in our system, and also will add that express as a dependency in our package.json file. So now we will click the enter here. You can see here that node modules has been created here, and here in our dependencies it's added that express. So now we have to add one more package, that will be nodemon. So what it will do, it will allow us to do our development faster. It will be just like in the Flutter we have hot reload, so it will be work in the same way. So what it will do, it will automatically refresh if there will be any changes in our code. So in that case we don't need to stop and restart the server again and again. It will automatically check for the changes and it will update that our API and all. So here we have to put the command npm install save dev, because we have to use it only for the dependency of the developer dependency. We don't need in the main dependency. So for that purpose we have to put here -save -dev nodemon, and now we will click the enter. Now if you go to our package.json file, you can see here the dev dependency has been added for that. So now after installing our MongoDB, we have to add the package in our package.json also, and for that we have to put here npm install mongoose -save. So it will save in our package.json. So here in the package.json, you can see here in the dependency we are having two dependencies. First one is express, second one is a mongoose. So now we will create one file here, and here we have new file index.js, that will be for the JavaScript file. Then here we will write a couple of line of code. Constant express is equal to require express. So required will be work in the same way we do in our Flutter as a import. Same way we have to put here required. So we require that particular dependency in our page. Then here we have constant app is equal to express. Then we will add one line of code to see our API is working fine or not. And here we will put app.get request, and it will be just like a dummy get request /API request response, and here we are sending the response res.send API working. So now we have to listen for that port, and here we have app.listen. Here we have process.environment.port or 4000 function, and here we have to put here console log now listening for request. So what it will do, it will start our server in the localhost for the port number 4000. So now our index.js file is ready. So now here we have to put the command to run our API, and here we have nodemon index. So it will start our server. So now we have to go to the Chrome browser to see is it working or not, and here we will put localhost 4000, and if we click enter here we will get here cannot get. That means this API is working only with that endpoint of API which we have mentioned in our code. If I put here /API, you can see here API is working. So now if I go back to the code, so here you can see here I have added that app.getRequest with /API, that is endpoint. If we user put that endpoint, then only it will start working. So now our sample API is working fine. So now let's move further to have the implementation of that API development of CRUD operation of get request, post request, put request and the delete request, and we are also going to use with our MongoDB. So now we will create one folder here, and the name of the folder is routes. Inside that we will create one new file, that is api.js. So now we will modify our index.js file, and there we have to add the mongoose constant mongoose is equal to require mongoose. And here we have to add our connection to the mongoose, and here we have mongoose.connect mongodb //localhost / and here we have to put our database name, and here we are putting our data. Our data is the name of the model. We will be creating our MongoDB later in this video. So now also we have to put here mongoose.promise is equal to global promise, and here we will add app.use express.json. So this will be added for the express parser to pass the data sent or received from the database. For that purpose we have to put here app.use express.json. Then here we have to remove this code because we have already done the testing part to test that API is working fine or not. For now, we are going to use our API from our api.js file, this file. So for that purpose, we have to put here app.use/API require. Here we will put ./routes/API. So this API file will be holding all our for operation, that is get, post, put and delete. And also we can do our error handling also with that our middleware and all. And here we can also put app.use function error request response next response dot status 422.send error dot message. So in case that status is 422, then we are just sending the error message as the error.message. So now we will modify our api.js file to have our for operation of CRUD. And here we have constant express is equal to require express. And then we have a constant route is equal to express.router. And this will be used for creating the router using our express router. So now we will create a get request router.get/employee, and this will be our endpoint function request response.send. And here we are just sending our empty data of type get, because once we are getting our all that CRUD operation working fine in the API, then after that we will implement the MongoDB and all. Same way we are going to do for our post request also, a router.post/employee function request response. And here we are just sending request send type post. Then we have name, and this will be we are getting from our request.body.name, whatever name we are going to provide in our post request. So now let's test the API is it working fine or not. For testing the API, I am using the plugin for our in the Visual Studio Code, that is Thunder client. And here I am going to create a new request, and here we have localhost / and here I have to put the port number 4000/API/employee. And here I am going to do the get request. I am clicking here send. Here I am getting the error here. Seem like there is an error in our index file. So now let's go to the index.js file. So here we have forgot one thing. We have to export the module also. And here we have module.exports is equal to router. So here another issue I have seen. Here I have to put the brackets here. So now I will click the save here. So there is no error anymore. So now I will go back to the request here. And if I again click on the send, you can see here we are getting the get request result, that is type get, because we are passing there as a dummy data as a request.send type, we are passing there send. And also we can change the type send request. So now if I again click on the send, you can see here we are getting get request. In the same way, if I click here post, and from the body if I pass some data here, and from here I will pass name Raman. If I click on the send request, you can see here we are getting here type post name as a Raman, because in the API also we are just passing that response as a type, and then we are passing as a name, and the name we are getting from that body which we are passing from the API request. So our CRUD operation working fine for the get or post record. In the same way we can do for our put and delete also. And here we have put employee/ID, and that will be the ID of that particular employee. And here in the response send we are passing here put, and then we have that delete request. In the same way we have to pass here /ID, and here we have delete. Now let's test that put and delete request also in that Thunder client. And here we have put request, and if I'm clicking on the send here, we are getting the error here because we have not passed any employee ID and all. I have to put a /1. And now if I click on the send, you can see here we are getting the status as a 200 OK, and the type we are getting here put request. Same way we can do for the delete also. And here if I click on the send, I am getting here type delete. So now let's move further to have the implementation of the MongoDB with this all the CRUD operation. So now we are going to build that our database schema and model. For that we have to create one folder here. The name of the folder is models. Inside that we will create one file that is employee.js file. So here we required our Mongos, and here we will put constant Mongos is equal to required Mongos. Then we have constant schema is equal to Mongos dot schema. Then we will create our employee schema. Constant employee schema is equal to new of schema, and here we required name, type will be string. Then we required employee number, type will be number. Then here we have constant employee is equal to Mongos dot model, and here we will set employee, and here we will set our employee schema. Then from here we will do module export is equal to employee. So what we did, we have created one model folder. Inside that we have created one employee.js file, and there we have constant for Mongos, and that we required the Mongos library. Then we have created the schema with our Mongos.schema. Then we have created that employee schema, and here we have created a schema with the name and the employee number. Then we have the constant for the employee by calling here Mongos.model, and there we have just passing our employee schema, and here the name of that model, that is employee. Then here we are just exporting our employee. So now we will go to our API.js file, and here we have to call constant employee is equal to required models slash employee. So here we will update our get request, and here we are calling here employee dot find, and here we are not putting any filter here. Instead of putting any filter, we are just calling a find, and it will fetch all the record of the employees in our database. But in case we require any filtration and all that, we can put here, but that part we are not covering in this video. We will cover those part in our upcoming series and all. Then here we have then function employees, and from here we will send the response send employees, and here also we are calling a catch next. So what it will do, by using our catch next function, it will help to catch any error and pass it to our next middleware for the error handling and middleware in our case, which we have defined in our index.js file here. Then we have our post request, and here we will call employees employee.create, and here we will pass request.body. Then here we have then function employees response.send employee. Then here we will call catch next. So by calling here response.send, whatever that data created in our server, that will be returned as a response. So now we will have our put request. For that using, we have to call here find one and update function to find the corresponding entry in the database using the ID we pass in the URL endpoint, this one. We then find the same employee with the help of its ID, and we will return the updated employee as a response. Here we have employee dot find one and update, and here we will pass ID request dot parameters dot ID, and here we will pass request dot body for all the parameters which we want to update for that particular employee. Then function employee, and here we will find employee dot find one. Here we will pass our ID request dot params dot ID, then employee response.send employee. Then we have our last operation, that is delete operation, and for that we will call here employee dot find one and delete. Here we will pass underscore ID request dot params dot ID, then function employee response.send employee. So now let's test the application. After that I will explain step by step what we did here. So first of all, we will call our get request to see what data we are getting. So here we are getting some error here. Let's see what the issue is. So the issue is in the API.js file. So here we forget to put here next, and here also, and this one also. So now let's see. So here the error is not coming. So again click on that request. So here we are getting the status code 200 OK, and the response we are getting empty because we don't have any data. So now let's do our post request to add some data here. So now we will go to our body, and from here we will pass the data. So let's see in the employee.js what data we have to pass. The first one is a name. The name we are passing here Raman. Then we have our employee number. We are passing here 1. So now if I click on the send request, so here we are getting status 200. Also we are getting the entity which is creating in the database, that is name. Then we have the employee number, and this is the ID which is generated from our database, and this is the unique ID. Now if I do any get request from here, you can see here we are getting the array of the data. So again, if I go to the post request and I will post another record, and here I will put breathe. If I click on the send request, now you can see here new data has been added. So now if I click on the get request and if I click on the send, you can see here we are getting two records. This one is a Raman, then we have our breathe record. So now we will do our put request also to modify some data. If I put a put, so now you can notice here we are having employee number as a 1 for both. So in the put request, I will change the employee number. I will put here 5. So now if I click on the send request, but it will not work because I have to pass the ID also, and for passing the ID I have to copy this ID and I have to put here after slash, this is the ID. So now if I click on a send request, so now you can see here data has been modified, and here I am getting the employee number as a 5. So now if I do any get request here, if I click on the send, I am getting a not found because I have to remove this ID. And if I click on a send request, you can see here we are getting two data. First one is for the Raman and the employee number is 1 here, and second one is the Preet and the employee number is 5 because we have modified our employee number by using our put request. So now let's do the last API, that is delete one, and from here we will remove that data for the Raman, and I will copy this ID, put a slash and the ID here, and from here if I change it to delete. Now if I click on a send request, I'm getting here some error. So now let's see what the issue is. I have to go to the api.js file. So here we forgot to put the bracket here. So now if I save here and I will go again to the request and will click again on the send button. Now it is working fine. I am getting a 200 OK status. That means API is working fine for the delete also. So now if I do any get request to see here how many results are coming from the database, and from here I have to remove the ID. So now you can see here we are getting only one record because first record has been deleted by using the delete API and all. So let's back to the api.js file. So let me explain what we did here. So here we have our get request for the employee API, and here what we are doing, we are just calling our employee model, and that is the Mongo's model. And from here I am calling here employee.find, and it will find all the record. I am not putting any filter here, but we can put the filter, like if we want to search any particular employee, we can put on the basis of the ID also, that we can do. So after that, after getting the data, we are just sending the response to our response.send, and here I am passing all the employees whatever we are getting from our MongoDB. Then here we are doing our try catchy and all to handle our error and all. Then we have our router.post request, and here we have employee.create, and here we are passing request.body, and that request.body will be our this body, and from here we will pass name and employee number. Then after that, whatever the data we are getting for that particular employee which is created in our database, that we are response back to our user in the API. Then we have our put request. Here we are just calling here employee, then we have the slash employee ID, and that employee ID we are just fetching here in our parameters, and we are calling here find one and update, and on the basis of that employee, that ID of that our MongoDB model we are passing here, and also we are just passing a request.body. On the basis of this ID, it will update that particular record of that data we are passing here. So then we are just calling here find one on the basis of the ID we are passing here. So whatever the data is in our database, that will be response back to the user. Then we have our last API, that is delete API. Here also we are passing the ID here. Then we are calling here find one and delete, and here we are passing ID from our parameters ID. Then whatever the response we are getting in our employee model, that we are passing back to the user in our response.send. Then we have our module.export, and we are just exporting all these routers. So that's all in this video. I hope you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share. So very soon we are going to start our e-commerce series with our Node.js and Flutter application. So for that purpose, I am just creating this crash course for the Node.js for those people who don't know anything about the Node.js, so they can easily understand the series and they can start learning from our Node.js series and the Flutter series. So I hope you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share. I will come back soon with another awesome videos. Thank you all.